I would like to ask you. I would like to ask you if you share with us in the chat box, introducing yourself. Where are you right now? And we will start in a couple of minutes. So please use the chat box. All right, I'm excited to see everyone sharing where they're coming from, the organizations. It's very nice. So, we're going to start now. So I'm very happy to have you all here. My name is Saddam Sayale, and I will be moderating the session today. So very warm welcome to all who joined us today on the behalf of Generation Unlimited and Decent Jobs for Youth and Teach for All. I would like to thank you for being part of the YouthForesight knowledge sharing series on learning and skilling through social entrepreneurship and innovation. YouthForesight is a newly launched knowledge facility jointly hosted by Decent Jobs for Youth and Generation Unlimited, which serves as a one-stop shop for curated tools and resources on key youth intervention. This webinar is part of the YouthForesight partnership, which aim to facilitate the sharing of good practices, evidence, engagement, and opportunities with broader stakeholders. And today, very excited that we're especially excited to be joined by Teach for All, a network of 60 independent partners united by a shared purpose to develop collective leadership across the education system to ensure all children and young people thrive. As I said before, my name is Saddam Sayale. I'm the founder of iLearn Jordan. I'm based in Jordan, the Middle East. iLearn is a social enterprise, a youth-led social enterprise that we work with children and youth across the country, especially vulnerable communities, to support their education and access to opportunities and bridging the gap between the job market and their skills. I'm also a member of the Global Leadership Council of Generation Unlimited, and I'm very excited to be with you here today. And as we get started, I would like to share a few housekeeping rules as usual. In today's agenda, we will hear from 4 inspiring speakers from all around the world. Following all presentation, we will have a Q&A where we invite everyone to share questions and comment you may have to the speakers. I really look forward to learning from each other today and encourage you to actively share your thoughts. Please use the chat function to introduce yourself, as we said earlier. And if you have any questions, you can use the Q&A function. And we will be addressing them during the Q&A part of the event. Also, please note that the webinar is recorded and it will be shared on the YouthForesight platform together with the slide deck after the event. So I really encourage you, it's today's youth sharing and we will hear a lot from young people on their innovation and why social entrepreneurship is important. So I encourage you to use the Q&A and the chat box as we move forward. And before we get started, I want to set up the context. Today, it's no doubt that today's generation of young people face an enormous challenge. Millions of off track to gain the skills they need to be successful in life and work and become active members of society. We know that 200 million secondary schools aged students globally are out of school, and 276 million young people aged 15-24 are out of education, training or employment, and young women are being excluded from the opportunities they need as a result of gendered expectations and informal employment, among other reasons. This was the picture before the pandemic, and I think we all witnessed that COVID-19 crisis has exaggerated the existing learning crisis and put spotlight on many existing inequalities, including the digital divide. UNICEF data shows that approximately 87 million students have missed at least 3/4 of classroom instruction time at a secondary level since March 2020. With prolonged economic impact of the pandemic, ILO's latest estimates show a fall in global youth employment by 8.7% in 2020 only, compared to 3.7% among adults. This figure masks a wide gender disparities as young women are experiencing greater employment losses and higher probability of anxiety and depression. In this context, innovations and entrepreneurship and self-employment are critically important. They have the potential to foster and improve the situation and resilience of young people. In particular, we have seen youth-led social entrepreneurships flourish and lifting young people to take charge in advancing fairer and inclusive recovery from the pandemic, including innovative ways to upskill and reskill young people themselves. I firmly believe that young people intuitively understand the challenges they face, and especially today's generation. And the young innovators and entrepreneurs we will hear from are a testament to their potential and strength. So now, without further ado, I would like to introduce our first speaker, Z, Chief Learning Officer from Chewbacca. Z here with us today is a Chief Learning Officer at Chewbacca based in Malaysia. Z used to teach mathematics and history at a low-performing secondary school in a high-need urban community under the fellowship program of Teach for Malaysia, which is a Teach for All global network partner. Chewbacca is founded by Teach for Malaysia alumni and is empowering children and young people to develop life skills by inspiring them to create solutions with technology. Chewbacca's mission is to teach children and young people across Malaysia science, technology, engineering, and math, STEM, through creative learning workshops. Floor is yours, Z.
Thank you, Saddam. It's evening here in Malaysia, so good evening to everybody. Next slide, please. So just a quick introduction. My name is Z. I'm from Chewbacca. Not Chewbacca. Apparently the transcript says Chewbacca, which is fine. We are the hairless Chewbacca, I guess. We are a social enterprise that runs technology enrichment program that covers areas such as coding, programming, electronics, 3D design, and app development. Next. Our purpose is really to develop children's life skills, and we treat technology as a platform to develop life skills, just like how a lot of us treat sports as a platform to develop discipline. Next. With the tech and enrichment programs that we have, we focus on enabling schools to become School 4.0. What does that mean? I'm sure a lot of us have heard of Industry 4.0. We imagine that the School 4.0 is as the school of the future that actually grooms technology creators who can collaborate with smart machines rather than as only a user of machine. Next. We run our organization with a franchise model. We have partners across different regions in Malaysia. Since 2016, we have grown to 8 partners across the region. As a partner under a shared brand and values, we believe that it will enable us to grow bigger and also be able to impact more to the people of Malaysia. Next. So here are some of the impacts we would like to show. Just click through it. I would like to highlight on, oh, hang on. Okay. So I would like to highlight on the 3 girls at the in the last photo. So the story behind them creating a low-cost microscope is really them looking around, you know, their school, and found out that inside the lab, the science lab, the microscope is always not available for them to use. It's either always spoiled or not enough. So they came up with the whole idea of using simple electronics as well as cardboards combined with phones. Apparently your phone has like the lens itself is like a natural magnifier. So it allows them to actually zoom into things very easily. They even turned the project into an open source project. And one of the funders actually enabled them to create 2,000 pieces to be distributed across 200 schools. So some of the things that you know that we are doing here is really not just getting the students to use technology, but rather create technology in order to solve a problem around them. Next. So not only that, we also have seen some impacts. Not only we have seen some impacts among the children, throughout our journey, we noticed that teachers have also leveraged on our programs to build cool initiatives in school. One of the initiatives over here happened in rural area in Borneo Island, where teachers and their students actually set up an innovation center. And in the innovation center itself, they helped the nearby botanic garden of Sabah to actually build a QR code system to help the visitor to learn more about the agriculture inside there. They also help you know, the students turn into becoming a trainer that trains teachers in the nearby schools with things like microbit. Next. So relating back to the theme of today's sharing. Next. All right, thank you. So relating back, hang on, sorry, go back. I think the internet's. Thank you. So relating back to the theme of today's sharing, youth employability, here is some thing that we, Chewbacca, could share a little bit about our learnings along the way to prepare our youth for the jobs of the future, which we largely don't know how it's going to be. But we keep seeing the same elements popping up over and over again. So these are the 3 elements that we found: a community, open source technology, as well as a sense of purpose. So for community, people surrounding youth are and can be a huge motivation force for learning. So community you saw earlier, where students teaching teachers, has proven that facilitator for learning may not be the know-it-all, but they may ask good questions, cheering on the learning while guiding the learners. Secondly, we realize about this thing, the open source platforms. So if we say learning coding, programming, robotics, or electronic is only reserved for the rich because of the high price, but that is no longer a truth at this day and age. This is because of the rise of open source platforms. The price has actually dropped significantly and the community support is huge. You no longer need to pay a lot for hardware or you know, to learn technology, and learning can be done easily on YouTube. This allows our youth to get hold of technology and skills easily without having to wait for teachers or, you know, until university. And finally, we realize that the purpose, right? One thing that is very clear behind all these young people is the why behind them. They were very eager to solve problems surrounding them, whether it's a microscope problem in a school or too much tuition at home. They take ownership of the problem and turn that into their purpose. And I must tell you that many of them are at the age of 15 to 16 are already thinking about setting up business after school. So next. I really like this quote. I thought I would like to share with you guys. The best way to invent the future is to, the best way to predict the future is to invent it. So the question to everyone over here, what is your prediction? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Z. Thank you for the presentation. Now I would like to introduce our second speaker, Sarwat. Thanks for you joining us today. Sarwat is the founder of Saturday School based in Thailand, and he is an alumnus of Teach for Thailand program, which is part of Teach for All global network. Saturday School is a social enterprise which works to ensure vulnerable and marginalized children and young people stay in school and gain the necessary life skills to equip them for the future. Sarwat has been awarded several national awards in the social impact and startup sector, including 2019 Forbes 30 Under 30 Asia edition, and partnered with organizations such as UNICEF and UNDP. Sarwat, over to you.
Thanks, Saddam. Hi, everyone. My name is Sarawit Paiburtanakorn again, and you can call me Giraffe. It's my nickname. I found Saturday School since 2014. Can you go to next slide? So, next, I just would like to tell you about a bit of my story. When I became teacher in Teach for Thailand program, I realized that students I was teaching at that time have a lot of potential in themselves, but in the classroom setting in Thai education, it's not allow them to reach their high potential. So I try to do so many activity in the school and also outside of school. So Saturday School come from when I asked some of my students to come on Saturday to learn something that outside of school or extracurricular activities. And I also see that and believe that everyone, like so many people in the country, would like to help and help improve education in the country. So I try to match people like my friends at that time who want to teach student extracurricular activities or whatever they have expertise. So we met my friends and my student at that time together. So students can choose what they want to learn, and I find my friends who have expertise that match student interest come together and make a Saturday School classes at that time. Next slide. So what we do is we empower everyone, like people in the country, to make a change for Thai education, and by being a volunteer teachers and also doing many things like PR, HR, research, learning facilitator, everything that we build a community of volunteers who want to help improve education in many ways, but mainly we recruit volunteer teachers to teach extracurricular activities on Saturday. So let me show you some video so that you see environment and how our class look like. So yeah, let's see the video. So along this time, I will continue explaining what Saturday School is. So we let students choose whatever they want to learn. For example, from cooking, coding, sport, drama, everything that children can imagine. Yeah, you can pray. And we recruit volunteer teachers to come teaching, like classroom is active learning classroom. So actually you can still continue praying. as you see a video, there are different types of classes, and also students will learn 10 weeks long. So it's like a course. When you sign up for dancing, you learn dancing for 10 weeks, and the 11th week is we call them big day event, that we gather all children, all volunteers come together, and it's a showcasing day for children. So children who have learned dancing, they will dance as a performance in the big day event. If students learn English language, they might be an MC for that event, speaking English. So next. Okay, these are four goals of student outcome that we are expecting. So there are self-awareness, resilience, growth mindset, and pro-social behavior. This like soft skill or mindset, we focus on inside of student. We focus on their potential, but not the content or how great they can dance, or how great they can cook, but we focus on this for mindset, for skill, for student. Next. I would like to tell you about one of our students. Her name is Aki. She joined Saturday School since 2015. She studied drama, public speaking, and dancing, course by course. After she graduated from middle school, she went to vocational school. So at that school, she became her school's representative to have a competition in like cheerleading championship of the country, and also she won the first prize, so that she became representative of the country to one of the top of the world later. So but now she became like 18 years old already, so she came back to be one of our volunteer teachers because she would like to pay it forward to the society. This one of our impressive story from our student. Next. Yeah. After all, we have make impact for 7,000 children. We empower 2,000 volunteers and more. So next. Yeah, we have two key lessons learned. First, we think that soft skills are much more important than knowledge, and then there are a lot of great people out there who want to help improve education. Just open up space for them to come and help you guys making more impact for education. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sarwat. It was a very interesting presentation. And now we're going to move to our third speaker. Ella Toge is a global health and development professional working to strengthen health and education system in resource constrained settings. She has proven experience garnered across public, private, nonprofit, and research institutions in Africa and Europe, where she has worked across programs, training, policy, advocacy, and research. She holds a bachelor degree in genetics from the University of Lagos and master's degree in global health from King's College in London. She currently manages programs at Slump to Schools, Africa, a leading education development organization where she has led globally celebrated interventions including the Slum to School virtual learning program, COVID-19 intervention, and the global campaign for education. Ella, the floor is yours.
Thank you, everyone, and I'm really excited to be here and sharing on this topic. So I'll just jump right into it. Can I get my next slide, please? All right, so I'll just briefly share on what we do at Slump to School and who we are. So Slump to School, we are an education development organization. We focus on children and youth in slums and underserved communities in Nigeria and by extension, Africa. Our main mandate is to ensure that they don't only have education, but that it's quality and that we give them everything that they need to support themselves throughout the course of their learning, including helping their communities, making sure that they're healthy, making sure that they're in a great frame of mind, making sure that they have all the resources they need for learning and personal development, and that they also have ways to express themselves extracurricularly. One of the ways, our model, how we operate is through partnerships. We partner with a lot of individuals and corporate organizations in both the private and the public sector. And we do also run a range of sustainable initiatives, including short-term and long-term programs. We're also very big on volunteering, and I think we're one of the largest volunteer-driven organizations in the continent. Some of the things we've been able to do in 9 years of existence is to create safe spaces for kids and youth in underserved communities, which could be slums, which could be remote locations that are not easily accessible, places where people are not very served. They don't have a lot of the things we consider basic necessities. So that's the demographic that we serve, and we ensure that we serve them through using the latest, or rather the most relevant 21st century methods of teaching and learning to ensure that they have best learning outcomes. As I mentioned before, there are a lot of psychosocial support activities that go on. And so far, we've been able to provide scholarships, full scholarships, to over 3,000 children throughout their primary, secondary, and university course of education. We've been able to provide health and psychosocial support to over 108,000 members of underserved communities. We've built dozens of learning centers in these communities just to demonstrate what learning should be. Because typically when you go there, the facilities you see are not very conducive and don't encourage maximal learning. And so we've been able to build these sort of centers and places. We've been able to also adopt various schools, public schools and low-cost private schools, just to ensure that more kids have access to education and schooling. And more recently, last year, we built the first virtual classroom on the continent to facilitate virtual and remote learning, to continue to support our learners amidst school closures during the COVID-19 pandemic. And also just something we're very proud of, we've built a community of thousands, and I mean over 10,000 socially responsible volunteers who contribute in diverse ways to the things that we do. Can I have my next slide, please? Thank you. So the next thing I'm going to be talking about in the context of this webinar is the impact we've made as it concerns the topic. And I'll speak about it in two forms: how we've impacted our beneficiaries, who are our primary focus, and how we've also impacted the community of volunteers that work closely with us to make sure all that we do comes true. So I'll just read the goal. The goal for our beneficiaries is to build our beneficiaries to the point where they're prepared for the future of work and they're globally competitive. We are not really very concerned about their background or where they come from, but we know that we can give them everything they need to become globally competitive and move ahead in life. Usually our beneficiaries, as I mentioned before, are children and youth from slums and underserved communities, typically between the age of 4 and 24. Those are our primary set of beneficiaries. By extension, of course, we are able to reach a lot of people within the communities we serve. And some of the solutions that we've been able to create or leverage to bring this to pass, I'll discuss 4 of them. We've done a plethora of things, and I'm not able to go through everything today, but these 4, I think, strongly relate to the topic of the day. So for the first one, I'll speak about our virtual learning program. The COVID-19 pandemic happened, and one of the measures that government put in place was to immediately close schools and other places of aggregation, and students had to stop learning. And while students that were from more privileged backgrounds could quickly switch towards, other forms of digital learning, they had tablets. Private schools immediately started having home lessons for students. The kids in the demographic we served didn't have that opportunity, and it was going to be very fatal if we didn't do anything about it. Because of past experiences, we know that after a protracted period of disengagement from education, some kids will never return to school. We had also seen that when disengaged from education, especially so suddenly, previous educational gains are going to be jeopardized. So it was very important to us that our learners continued learning, and as a team, we brainstormed what's the best way to go about this so that we don't have any of these challenges. We ran a survey in the community, and one thing that stood out was that our learners really miss school, and one of the things that they really miss was the socialization component of education. And so when we were building a solution around the problem of school closures in COVID,
Hello, Ella.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, Ella. Please continue.
Okay. So we had to capture something that captured the socialization component of education, and that's why we came up with our virtual classroom. So the virtual classroom gives the illusion of being in a real class. You're able to interact with your peers, ask your teachers questions in real time, and it was something that at the end of implementation, we found to be very useful for learning. The results spoke for themselves. We had over 100% increase in certain metrics between baseline and endline evaluations, just to show how efficient that was. And I think the interesting part about this was made from locally available resources and within our budget scope. Another thing that we've done for our beneficiaries is to provide an enterprise development center where they're able to come in and learn different skills that can make them more, that can contribute to their earning potential. We know that for them, because of the realities of their situation, being able to earn is very important. So we're able to build these enterprise development centers in some of the communities we serve so they can come and learn marketable skills. And then another thing we did was to also build STEM and innovation centers. I know we all know now the world is going digital, tech is the new thing, it's a big part of life, but this is not the reality in a lot of places. A lot of people in these communities don't really know much about what's happening with technology. So we brought technology to them in their community, so they're able to get comfortable with tech, learn, make mistakes, and just interact with technology. Another thing we did was to give them platforms, or to expose them to platforms. I know some of our beneficiaries have spoken on stages like TEDx of different locations. They've even spoken at some Generation Unlimited events, and by that they're able to share their stories, own their stories, and get more comfortable in their abilities and the things that they're doing. And I think it really helps them to build confidence and to build skills that are going to be useful in the future. I'll just quickly jump towards the volunteer angle of it. We run volunteering programs where people sign up to be volunteers, and to ensure that we have the right people and who are the right fit, we have a rigorous volunteering process that gets people who we think are aligned with our goals, matches them to teams based on their skills and abilities, and then they can serve in different functions and in different departments. Through our volunteering program, we've also activated virtual volunteering experience, meaning people who are not physically present with us in Nigeria and in other locations that we run our programs and initiatives can also still be a part of what we're doing, leveraging technology for good. And it also allows us to reach more people in more places faster. And then I'll just quickly speak on capacity development opportunities. We're making an intentional effort to ensure that we're building our volunteers' capacities and that they're better than whenever they joined us. We know that it's a win-win for each of us. We're not just taking things from our volunteers, we're also able to contribute useful capacity development skills and trainings and programs to them that can make them, more marketable in the corporate market, help them run better businesses, and just be able to even serve the communities we serve even better. And then I think one very massive thing or impact of our volunteering program is the community that is built. I think we all know that a network is sort of your net worth in quote, especially in this day, social currency. And we're giving our volunteers an opportunity to be a part of a wide and vast network of people. We have people who have met and formed partnerships, business partnerships, helped each other get jobs, helped each other on certain, exciting things just because they were a part of our volunteering community. Can I get the next slide, please? Thank you. The next slide. The next one. So these are just testimonials of some of our beneficiaries. This is Abdul Malik. Sorry, the previous one. Thank you. Yes, so this is just a picture of our virtual classroom. I could share a link to a video later where everyone can get to know more about it. The last slide, please, so that I can wrap up. I know I've really spent a lot of time. So generally, I think the message is that the key take homes for us is that access to education doesn't just happen in one way. Getting access is one thing, but ensuring that our learners have skills and things that they can really use in the real world is very important to us at Slump to School, and I think should be important to everyone. Let's not just run programs and initiatives just because we have to do them, but because of the impact that they would have. Learning does not occur in isolation. We have to remember to also care for things that encourage or deter learning. And as I've spoken about innovation, when we did, or when we created the virtual classroom, it was something we had to do with things that already existed in our environment, meaning that innovation doesn't always have to be about creating something new or from the scratch. You could find new ways to make use of what you already have. And as I shared when I said, talked about giving platforms to some of our beneficiaries, every voice is very important, and we need to be very open to telling stories and allowing people own their stories. And yeah, I think the last thing I would say is we're all trying to build for the future, and time is moving so fast, so we should never get comfortable with doing just one thing. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ella. It was a very interesting presentation. I'm pleased to introduce the fourth speaker, Nicole, who is the Director of Education and Programs at CoSchool, based in Colombia. CoSchool is in Bogota, based B Corporation, focused on promoting social, emotional, and learning and well-being for youth and educators. She's also a member of ILO Skills Innovation Network. Nicole has worked with children, adolescents, university students, and adults in the United States, Mexico, Guatemala, and Colombia. For almost 20 years, she has taught in all sorts of classrooms, in schoolrooms, forests, boats, gyms, beaches, and neighborhoods. As a researcher and a consultant in education, her interests focus on the effective aspects of learning, especially emotions and motivation. Over to you, Nicole.
Thank you, Saddam. We're going to start with an activity. So whoever's doing the presentation, if you could just turn it off for a second. And even though I can't see you all, I'm going to assume that you're going along with this activity. I'd like everybody to take a moment to think about some kind of skill, not a technical skill, not knowledge, what we've been talking about all day across the panel, which are soft skills, right? Things like empathy, communication, the ability to work in a team, critical decision-making and thinking, these kinds of skills. And I would like to invite the 84 participants who are here with us to tell us in the chat how you learned that skill. Was it through an experience that you had, some hard thing that you did that taught you to be determined. Maybe it was playing on a sports team that taught you how to understand how to be part of a team and work with other people. Maybe it was a class in which some teacher, gave you a lecture about being empathetic or how to use your critical thinking skills. I'd like to invite all the participants, the 84 of you from all over the world, what that skill was and how you learned it. Could you put your responses in the chat, please? Through play, we have one of these responses here, and a lot of failures. If you could tell us too, what skill was it that you learned and how you learned it? I'm asking you to do something terrible in a webinar format, which is participate. So I'll wait a second. Great, we have some good responses here. Communication was learned through experience. Somebody said the ability to work in a team, I learned through projects in school. Empathy through candid feedback. Empathy through living with a different family in a different country. I can relate to that one. I'm from the United States, but I've been living in all over Latin America for the majority of my adult life, and living in a different country certainly teaches you empathy. Public speaking, which is a more technical skill, but related, I would say, a lot with courage and soft skills of communication, learned by having to present to peers every month. So what we're seeing here is that a lot of what people are talking about is learning by doing. And that's why I started our presentation today, or my presentation, about what CoSchool does to teach social emotional skills to youth. We create scenarios for students to have life experiences through projects, through contact with others, in order to develop these soft skills. So you guys have helped me in giving me my introduction to what CoSchool does to build soft skills in youth and actually in teachers in Colombia. And that is the center of our mission. So Lena, if you can bring us back to the slides now. Thank you all for your participation. We have a lot of interesting and diverse answers, different soft skills being highlighted, developed in a ton of different ways, which is what experiential or project-based learning allows us to do. So we'll go to the next one. So as I said, CoSchool is a social enterprise. It's actually a B corporation. We're not a nonprofit, we're actually a business that focuses on educational programming with youth and adults in Colombia. So for those of you who need a refresher on your geography, Colombia is at the northern corner of South America. And this photo that you're seeing is a photograph of youth who have participated in a program in one of the regions in Colombia called Rumbo Emprender. This is a youth entrepreneurship and soft skills building program that we carried out in one of the regions of Colombia that has been very affected by the internal conflict. So probably for a lot of you, when you think of Colombia, some certain things come to mind that are maybe not so positive about the context, that it's dangerous, that the drug trade is part of what the country has suffered from, that there's been a lot of violence, and in effect, 50 years of the last decade have, the country has suffered from an internal civil war, which has resulted in displacement of populations, violent dynamics, and just sort of a destroyed social fabric, which is now rebuilding itself. And youth are a key part of building a peaceful Colombia. So these kids, these 600 youth who we worked with in this region called Urabá, are the focus of this program, Rumbo Emprender, that I'm going to talk about, one particular program that we've operated at CoSchool. Let's continue. I just want to show you some faces. Next one. Next one. We'll stop there. So as you can see, this is a program that reaches both boys and girls. As we've talked about, gender is a very important piece for at-risk youth in these regions. Girls' employability is far lower than that of boys because of gender dynamics in the region. But in essence, boys and girls are working together in this program to address, through a project-based and an experiential learning approach, problems that they identify in their communities. So as you can see, this boy is sitting on the floor here, and he is drawing a graph. They did some research. He and some of his classmates did some research about what are the big problems in their community. And this group particularly identified that insecurity, people getting robbed, neighborhoods that were unsafe for people to walk through. So they researched these problems and they propose innovative solutions. And they propose a social innovation project that they develop in their community with their classmates to address these different problems that are near and dear to their hearts. This is very important in terms of the methodology of this program. This is not about adults providing programming or activities for youth. It's about youth critically analyzing their context and proposing innovative solutions to those problems that they see and that affect them. Continue. In this particular alleyway, this was one of the hot spots for insecurity, and they decided one of the ways that urban insecurity is addressed is through beautification, through art. So they painted a community mural which reflected their soft skills learning. This particular image is about self-knowledge and the girls learning to sort of love and know themselves. And so they made this mural with their learnings of soft skills, not only to represent what happened in the program for them on a personal level, but also to take away this issue of insecurity in this particular alleyway that they all had to go through on their way to school. Continue. And here's just another image of the same project going on. You can see it's quite a long alleyway. Continue. We worked on 4 principal social emotional skills that are sort of grouped into what we call 4 profiles: the dreamer, collaborator, explorer, and activator. So what social emotional skills do those profiles represent? Self-knowledge and self-esteem, empathy and teamwork, curiosity and determination, and leadership and social awareness. We know these are skills that the labor market requires. We know these are skills that are key for peace building in these communities. We know these are skills that are, as a result of a diagnostic we did, are skills that these particular youth need. So just to show you a few of the results, and we can get into more detail in the Q&A because I know we're almost out of time. Continue. One of the words most commonly associated with this experienced and project-based approach to social innovation and youth empowerment and skill building is happiness and opportunity. So in essence, let's continue to the next one. We saw that this was sort of the affective result of students' participation. Next slide, please. We'll go to the next slide. And again, we did an impact evaluation, which I'd be happy to talk more about in the Q&A, because I know that measurement and impact evaluation is a huge thing. But basically, the takeaways from this program are 3. Number 1, real world projects are motivating, right? And also, as you guys mentioned in your answers in the chat, these real world experiences teach you what you're made of. It teaches you that you can be a change agent, both in your own life and in your community. Number 2, you learn about yourself and you learn how to be with other people by working with other people. Group work strengthens both pro-social behavior and students' knowledge. And we find that together, students transform. And last of all, the technical students do struggle in doing these projects. And we know, as many of your presentations, the panelist presentations have mentioned, support from people who know how to structure projects, who know how to plan what plan a social innovation, it's important that students get knowledge support from these sort of experts so that they propose things that are realistic and they're able to sort of pin down a plan. Adolescents struggle with executive function. I think most of us who have taught and who have worked with young people know this, and it's hard for them to come up with realistic plans. So again, technical support in this aspect of planning is one of the key elements to make these projects and innovations sustainable and successful. And that's all for me. My time is up, and I'd be happy to, get into more of the impact discussion in the Q&A.
Thank you so much, Nicole. It was a very insightful presentation and active. Once again, a huge thank you for all the speakers for empowering us with truly inspiring work you are leading to address the critical learning and skilling challenges young people are facing today. I'm astounded by the innovative approaches spotlighted today and feel excited to move forward for our next part of the agenda. Now is to hear from you who has been listening on the Q&A section. So I'll be using, I'll choose 2 questions to address to our speakers. And I invite everyone, from our speakers and to actually answer some of these questions online. So the first question, and I find it very, very interesting and it's very relevant. It's from Tanya Fury from UNICEF Sierra Leone, working on the GenU agenda. This question is open. I'm just reading this. This question is open to all presenters. What are the best approaches to keep young people engaged and excited, especially when launching new initiatives in your communities? So who would like from our panelists to actually answer this question?
I can. For Saturday School, we invite students to join, but they join by volunteer as well, so they can leave or not come any Saturday, anytime, but they still come and they invite their friend to join the following time. So I thought there are 2 key things. First, you just make your classroom as meaningful and fun as possible. Second, when children come to join, they have like building relationship with their friends and also their teachers, our volunteers. So a relationship between people help them get along together, and they would like to come and enjoy meeting these people all together after that. Yes.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Surat. Anyone else would like to answer this question briefly? All right. So we'll move to the second question from Susanna. What are the good practices to ensure the sustainability of the social enterprise and its financial ability to cover employees, volunteers, salary, time, opportunity cost? This is an amazing question. Many social entrepreneurs are actually trying to answer every day. So I will leave it to actually our guests who are living this every day to give us some, some thoughts on this question.
Maybe I can share a little bit.
Yeah.
So basically, while we call ourselves social enterprise, and impact is utmost important, in terms of day-to-day operation, right? We treat it as a business, all right? Everything is very professional. Everything is just treating it as a business, because honestly, without money, it's like without oxygen to breathe. And the moment your business suffers from oxygen, it's very hard to survive. I think Nicole will have a interesting take on this one because they are running it as a profit.
Nicole, do you have any thoughts on this?
I mean, there's so much to talk about regarding financial sustainability. I'll give a few thoughts. Yeah. Honestly, one of the things that we've discovered at CoSchool is again, not just the sustainability of the particular programs, but thinking about how more systemic approaches to education promote efficiency and scalability, right? So I think that the pandemic has shown us the two sides of the coin of online interventions, and the virtual revolution in education is a huge plus for scale. And I think no one can argue with that. Of course, there's a dark side, human contact, especially when it comes to developing social emotional skills. It can't disappear, and it won't. But I think virtual learning and the pandemic has shown us and has forced some of us who were more focused on face-to-face intervention, how we can incorporate technology to contribute to the scalability and sustainability of our programs. That would be one of my observations. And I think the other might be that when we talk about seeking to impact youth directly, we can do that in different ways. And working with teachers and working with school systems are also ways to scale up our impact. That doesn't mean not working with youth direct, involving other parts of the system to improve the sustainability and that also support these youth. So I think those are two things that actually don't have that much to do with funding directly, but are strategies that contribute to sustainability and scalability.
Amazing answer, Nicole, and everyone. I would like to say, for the many people who actually put on the Q&A questions, our panelists will try to answer them on the section itself. So please, check out the Q&A section for your question to be answered. As for now, I'm totally amazed by, the amazing speakers we had today and showcased and discussed today. We saw that youth social entrepreneurship have an immense potential to foster local innovation and improve the resilience of young people in the job market, as well as promoting fairer and inclusive recovery from the pandemic. Young people are change makers with unlimited potential to transform economic and social outcomes and advance the agenda for young people. We also saw different partners in the skilling and learning ecosystem working together to scale up the efforts to reach the common ambition. We are only able to reach impact at scale and transform the lives of young people when we join forces, crowd in resources, and share knowledge and experience in each other. I trust this is a mere beginning of continued conversation and collaboration to accelerate our efforts to address the skills gap challenges of young people globally, to ensure young people become lifelong learners, to secure productive work, to make informed decisions, and to positively engage in their communities. It's been my pleasure to moderating this session, and on the behalf of Generation Unlimited and Decent Jobs for Youth and Teach for All, I would like to thank our distinguished speakers for sharing with us their experience and insights, and to all the participants who joined us today from different parts of the world. I hope to continue our dialogue on this important agenda, and I would like to thank you again for your active participation today. On this note, I wish you a wonderful rest of your day or night, and thank you and see you later. Much appreciated. Thank you, everyone.